Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today I'm here with Sebastian Perot. He's a third year studying currently in Quebec. What school do you go to again? I wasn't sure.
That's a good question. A lot of people wouldn't recognize it. It's
Not
called Bishop's
McGill.
University.
Bishop's University.
Here, being bilingual is kind of a big thing. Like, not everyone is, but there you're not special.
Why did you go to an English university in Quebec? Why didn't you just study in French?
It's hard to switch over everything you know because I did high school in English. So basically what it is, pilot license, there's different levels. There's the PPO, which is the private pilot license. That's what I have. The pilot world, the aviation world, they're very peculiar and they're very like, if you don't know everything, you're a noob.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be a guy that flies on, Microsoft Flight Simulator and he's going to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we were flying and the winds kept getting stronger and stronger. We're like, all right, I think it's time to go back and land. I was landing the plane, like, runway was there and I was landing it here. I was actually looking out my side window.
Yeah.
Instead of the front windshield, I was looking at my side window to land the plane.
Damn.
She herself was like, holy shit, like, this is actually kind of brutal wind. And yeah, and I managed it perfectly.
Were you ever scared of planes growing up? Were you ever scared of flying?
No.
Now that you fly them yourself, does it make you more confident when you're up in the air? Because I feel like the more you know it, the better you'd feel about flying.
Yes and no, but it's like, as they say, like, ignorance is bliss. The more you know what could go wrong.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the VoV podcast, The Voices of Vic. Today I'm here with a friend from a long time, part of a 5-person graduating class from our elementary school. He's a third year business student studying currently in Quebec. We got my boy Sebastian Perot. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. What school do you go to again? I wasn't sure.
That's a good question. A lot of people wouldn't recognize it. It's called
Not
Bishop's
McGill.
University.
Bishop's University.
Yeah, it's one of 3 English universities in Quebec.
Okay.
It's along with McGill and Concordia.
Yep.
Bishop's is the third one and probably one of the smallest.
Okay.
We're a small university, like 4,000 people, maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
What made you want to go there?
I really like. Well, honestly, I spent a lot of time in the area.
Yep.
And it's in a town called Sherbrooke, which, if you're from Quebec, it's a fairly big town, roughly 200,000 people around. And it's a nice area. My uncle went there. I have friends and family that went there. And honestly, in Quebec, education in general, but university especially, is a lot cheaper.
Okay.
So that was a huge decision.
Yeah. Does it help the fact that you're a resident of, or that you were born in Quebec? Did that give you an upper hand?
Well, yeah, I'm bilingual, so I speak French as well. So that's like, it just kind of broadened how many schools I could go to and apply for in Quebec or in Canada. So, it's an English university, but in a French area, so you end up speaking both languages fairly frequently. I would say probably 90% of students there are French.
Okay.
Or not French, bilingual.
Bilingual, yeah.
So yeah, like, here, being bilingual is kind of a big thing. Like, not everyone is, but there you're not special. You're just another one of the many people that are French and English. So. Yeah.
Why did you go to an English university in Quebec? Why didn't you just study in French? Because you studied all of elementary school in French.
True. First of all, big difference. Our level of French education here in Ontario is like not even close to the same. Like, it's like French. It's French, but with an undertone of English, whereas there it's just French. Yeah. I think that's probably the best way I can put it. And also math, really math. That's like, because switching, that's one of the things that's stopping me, or kind of being a hindrance a bit for me choosing if I want to continue education in Quebec and doing like an MBA or something, is the fact that it's hard to switch over everything because I did high school in English. So already there, it was hard to switch from French elementary school to French high school.
Flip flopping.
Yeah, that was kind of to English high school. So that was difficult. But then switching back now that I've reached like I would say a higher level, obviously a higher level in my studies.
Yeah.
Like switching to like it would take me at least a semester to adjust.
Yeah.
And because like a lot of the terms are different, following along is different.
Yeah.
Like, and I'm definitely fluent in French, but it's been a while since I wrote and just did math in French, so I'm kind of rusty, so it'd take a while. And just like, do I want to lose a semester or do really poorly one semester just to learn in French?
Yeah 100%.
Not really, so.
And it's interesting because I had the same thing. Like when you say how is my math going to be affected going from an English school to a French
Big
school,
thing.
people kind of like look at you weird, like, what do you mean math is just numbers? It's the same in English and French. It's like, not exactly.
It's the same concepts and the same calculations, but it's just the names are different. So like when you're getting taught like, oh, and then whatever you want, whatever you're learning, I don't know, economic concepts, whatever, and you get told like, okay, this is the formula, this is what you do, blah blah blah, and then but you get told that in English or French or whatever like is different for you, and then you're just like, what? And then you always have to ask for clarification. Like I've done it, and it's just like you end up asking so many more questions and being like, what? And then like you're trying to do homework or like some type of assignment and you're like confused, and then someone says, oh yeah, no, it's just that, but like it says that but in French. And you're like, oh, like I've done this before, it's so easy. But like it just causes a lot of unnecessary confusion.
Absolutely. Something that I'm thinking about right now is why
are you grinning?
No, I'm laughing. I got something that's in my head now. When we were in school together, I remember all the time how you and Nico would try to make fun of me for being half Mexican and being like, call me an immigrant, but then I'd shoot back at both of you and say you guys were provincial immigrants. Do you remember that? Yeah. So, because Nico's from Manitoba, you're obviously from Quebec. I want to ask, when did you move from Quebec to Ontario? Because you were born in Quebec.
Yeah. Oh, I was young.
You were young?
Probably like 3 years old. When I came. But then I moved back. So now I'm.
Are you living there?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah. My primary address is in Quebec. Like obviously I come back. My parents live here, but I'm living in Quebec like full time. So I just come back to visit.
When you get out of school, do you plan on staying there, or are you going to come to Ontario again?
That's something I've been debating. It depends where. It depends what kind of job offer I get. It depends where. Because the thing is with Quebec is that, it's all in French, which is the language I would say I'm slightly weaker in. Yeah. But that it wouldn't take long for me to be just as proficient. Like even now, like I speak a lot, so it's fine. Like orally is fine. It's just written and stuff that would take a little bit of adjustment. But it's honestly cost of living is cheaper in Ontario. In Quebec. Sorry.
In Quebec. Yeah.
It's definitely more expensive in Ontario, especially the closer you get to Toronto.
Yeah.
So like I like Toronto, and I want to live here, but like, is it going to be in the cards to live near Toronto?
Right.
In the early years, maybe what I was thinking was maybe like 20s ish. Live in Quebec because it's cheaper. Like everything is cheap. Education, as I said, insurance is way cheaper. Like housing, everything's cheaper.
Do you know why that is?
Huh? It's just, first of all, I mean, obviously, once you get like near Montreal or even Quebec City, big cities, everything's always more expensive closer to big cities. But like, I would say in Ontario, everything is clustered.
Got it.
Like we're so clustered in southern Ontario, and it's so urbanized in southern Ontario that like we have like everything. You're close to Toronto wherever you are, pretty much. Like or close to a big city, so it's all expensive, and just everyone wants to live in Ontario. It's like the hub of kind of business, I guess, in
Canada.
In Canada, so that just makes prices go up. Whereas in Quebec, you can kind of get away with being in a more rural region.
Got it.
Like I live in technically a borough of Sherbrooke, which is the town my university's in, and like even there, like Sherbrooke is probably the third or fourth biggest city in Quebec.
Yeah,
fourth, I believe.
Yeah.
So it's not small,
Yeah.
But like even then, the prices are just very reasonable. Because I don't know what it is. It's just maybe the market is just like people won't accept it, so they have to keep it low, and just they're having a problem with especially the housing market and like the rent and everything.
Yeah.
They're like not that many people are there's probably more people moving out of Quebec than there are moving in.
Got it.
So like, here we have such a massive influx. In Ontario, we have such a massive influx of people that like prices just keep going up. Whereas in Quebec,
India.
it's staying pretty stable. Yeah, well, everywhere really. Like,
shout out to my Indians.
For real. With them hard. Oh, sorry.
Bleep that out.
Yeah, bleep it. No, like I think immigration's a really good thing, but like it does make the prices go up. In Quebec, obviously, it's way easier for English people to move to Ontario, like English immigrants to move to Ontario, than it is for them to move to Quebec. So
true. Yeah, that's a good point. Like the language barrier definitely could be a thing too, because in like globally, there's more people who speak English or who would rather learn English than learn French. So you are going to attract those people into Ontario better than you would attract them into Quebec, because Quebec you have to learn a less popular language.
Yeah, so they obviously, the thing is that there's like kind of two types of immigration, I guess. It's I'm not talking about migration or refugee status, or I'm not talking about that, but I'm talking about like people that are already here and bringing their family over. That's different. The people that are coming in through that way is they'll go to where their family is, obviously.
Right.
So that like the more people you receive, let's say in the Toronto region, the GTA, or in Ontario, the more that are going to come even like further from immigration. Whereas like, but what they started, and I know they're doing it here as well, but especially in Quebec, is that the first coming, like people that have no attachment, no family, no whatever, that's when they're placing them. So they tell them to go somewhere. They'll tell them to go to small towns.
Interesting.
To kind of keep the life in the towns a bit.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of small towns, like people are leaving to go to big cities. So like a lot of small towns are like declining in numbers.
Interesting.
Maybe less so around here, but especially in Quebec, like it's a problem.
Yeah.
Like small towns are just emptying. So what they're doing is they're placing them in these small towns. First of all, because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And pretty much they're giving them like subsidies or just paying outright for like a year's worth of rent for them to stay there, to incentivize it and hope that they put down roots there and kind of build a life there. And so they can only really do that to French immigrants, which aren't that many, and like French, and especially not with refugees. Like, there aren't that many refugees coming from France, are there?
Yeah.
So it just kind of leaves the French, African refugees, which a lot of them are still even going to Ontario. So
yeah. I was gonna say like most of the immigrants in Quebec would have to be from like those French African speaking countries, because like I don't think French is very huge in India, like compared to English, obviously.
I mean, we do get some, especially as I said, around the like quite a few Indians in Montreal and in Sherbrooke, because Sherbrooke is not officially, I don't think it's officially bilingual, but like 25% of Sherbrooke is English or speaks English at least.
Okay.
So like there's quite a few English, so they can still manage and get around, like even if they just speak English when they first come. Obviously they'll end up learning French. Yeah. But like we have quite a few and they just stay the whole area of that Sherbrooke is in, it's kind of like a county. Yeah. Like here it's called the Eastern Townships, and those were like historically settled by English people. Mm-hmm. So it's like a small little English pocket in Quebec. Yeah. So they're like one of the places that get the most, I would say, English immigrants.
That's interesting.
Along with Montreal.
That is interesting. Something I want to ask you about. So you did your pilot's license already. Mm-hmm. You completed that.
Not fully.
Not fully?
I've completed one of the many steps.
Okay.
There's many steps involved in. I don't know, do you want me to get into it? Because this might be a long-winded explanation.
We can go to it.
So basically, what it is, pilot license. I mean, there's different levels. There's the PPO, which is the private pilot license.
Yeah.
That's what I have.
Okay.
Okay, that's like the first level. It's arguably maybe not the longest, but one of the hardest, because that's when all the information is new.
Right.
And then after that, everything's just adding on to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying this for me to, validate what I've done so far, but I've heard this many times.
Absolutely.
So, and then there's the CPL, which is the commercial pilot license. So if you just stop at the private pilot license, you can still fly small planes. Like, I'm legally allowed to fly and be insured and buy my own small plane. Not that I have the money to do that, but like, I can still fly single engine aircraft.
Nice.
So
how long did that take you?
That took me about 3 months.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So okay. I mean, and that's not necessarily uncommon. Like, people will do it from anywhere. It depends how much time you have to devote to it. Like, some people will do it in 6 months. Some people will do it in 2 months. Like, it depends how quick you can go, how much time you have to. Like, I was working at the same time, so it delayed it a bit. Yep. But it was still quite quick. And then so then there's your CPL, which is your commercial pilot license. That's when you're allowed to actually fly other people around for money. Yeah. Like, with my private pilot license, I'm allowed to have people in the plane with me, but I can't get paid for it, so it all comes out of my own pocket.
Interesting.
And I can't work for any company or anything. Yeah. With your commercial pilot license, you're allowed to, theoretically. I mean, no company will hire you with just that. But
would that be the second step?
Yeah, that's the second step. Okay. I mean, there's tiny little like exams that you do like before even your private pilot license, but those are like, they take no time. Yeah. And then after that, you do your IFR and your twin engine. You do. Though they all kind of get done around the same time, but you do your IFR, which is instrument frequency rating, which allows you to fly using just your instruments. So not needing to look outside. Yeah. So like, whereas before you fly VFR, which is like, you actually need to be able to see outside the plane to land and fly and do whatever. Yeah. That's what I do. IFR allows you to just use your instruments. So you don't need to see anything. You just you know how high you are, you know where exactly you are, you know your like your speed, your everything, like all the instruments. I'm not going to get into it because I can go for.
How do you land if you can't see?
Well, you need to be able to see a bit. Yeah. Theoretically, you can land without seeing, but that's like, you need to be guided down
with some air traffic control type.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, like, you don't need to see till, I believe the IFR minimums are like 200 feet or 400 feet above the ground. Okay. So like, you can be coming in on your approach and not be seeing anything until the last like 200 feet. And 200 feet when you're when you're in a plane dropping out of the air, not dropping, but descending, that's not a lot of time. Like, you'll see the ground for the last like 15, 20 seconds. Like, so it's not a lot, but so you do your IFR, and then you do your twin engine, which is allowing you to fly with 2 engines. So, because that's different, because it changes the speed, it changes your procedures of what you do with if your engine cuts out. Because if one of your 2 engines cuts out, you can still fly. Yeah. Whereas if you're in a single engine and your engine cuts out, you're not flying. Wraps, you're just gliding. Yeah. Well, no, it's not wraps. We practice it. Like, you can land.
You be chill?
Depends where I am. If I'm over water, probably not. If I'm over a forest or like a rocky area, probably not. But over like fields and stuff, yeah. Nice. I think you could probably survive it. Good chances.
That's dope.
But we practice that. But and then your twin IFR, which is the same thing as I said before, but just with 2 engines. Yeah. Because that changes things as well. That's awesome. Yeah, and then after that, there's your airline, your ATPL airline pilot license, which is just but that you can get after you start working. Yeah. But that's just like allows you to be a commercial pilot, like on big airplanes, like, and really that's kind of the gateway to the big companies. You need to have your ATPL. Yeah. Because before that, but that you can't get till you have like 1,500 hours of experience. So like, it takes you like 2 hours of flying small little planes for companies like up north or stuff like that. Yeah. Like bush flying, that's what we call it. And then you can reach. Why are you giggling?
No, I'm not. This is interesting to me.
And then you can reach like the commercial flying that you see and you would be like that everyone knows.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. This is what I'm thinking of. Do you know the pinnacle of like a pilot's license you could get? Like, what's the number one thing, let's say, that's either the hardest or that the least people have, or that allows you to do the craziest shit? Like, what is the peak? Because you come from a family of pilots, I would say. Yeah. So, like, I don't know if your dad has this certification, or if you want to one day get it, or if you're like, I don't need all this fancy stuff.
I mean, it depends how you look at it, because after that, after what I said, the ATPL, and after that, it's a specialization or just experience.
Okay.
It's kind of, but so like if you talk to some, it would just be like captain. Like once you reach captain, you're in charge of a big aircraft. That's it.
Got it.
That's the highest you can, but that's in commercial. But then there's also like, some would say, oh, it depends also on the aircraft that you're flying. So like if you're flying like a 787, or a Boeing 380, Airbus, Airbus 380, Boeing. Those are like the biggest aircraft, the biggest commercial aircrafts that you can fly, and those things are absolutely massive. So like that, some would say being a captain on one of those is like the highest you can go in commercial, because like they're like the hardest, supposedly, to fly. Or you ask others, and it's like, oh, the highest level is like flying in like an F-35 or an F-22, like the fighter jets. Yeah. So like that might be it. It just depends which direction you're kind of leaning. Also, there's some that like there's some airports around the world that like you need a specific license to fly. Yeah. To land at, because it's like especially difficult to land at, and like you need to be specifically trained to land at those airports. I don't know. There's a few. I don't know which ones they are, but I've seen some clips and some I don't know anyone that's landed at them, but like so that some might consider that like if you have your license to land at all those airports, some would consider that like the highest level of skill. Yeah. But me personally, I'd probably say like flying a fighter jet. That's awesome. F-35, whatever.
That's cool. What do you think about? Okay, actually, I'm gonna save that question.
I would like to just preface this by saying I am not the authority on pilots. I am still very much at the basic level. Okay. So like I cannot give, and everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt. Like I'm not that far into my studies and my experience that I can confidently give you every answer.
I respect the disclaimer, but out of I think that this is going to be episode 71. Out of the 71 episodes and I guess at that point it would be the 66 guests we've had, the most about planes and aircrafts, for sure. So
that's sad.
You would be, in my eyes, the authority in terms of this podcast. Even in a small realm.
I could just imagine, because the pilot world, the aviation world, they're very peculiar, and they're very like, if you don't know everything, you're a noob. Yeah. Like they'll shit on the smallest little things. Yeah. So I just know if this gets out and someone who knows more than me sees it, he's gonna be like, this guy sucks. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He said it wrong, or or this guy said Airbus instead of Boeing. What a loser. Like, I just know there's gonna be a little technicality that's gonna get me totally. They're gonna be like, this guy probably doesn't even have his license. This guy doesn't know what he's talking about.
That sounds toxic.
Whatever, we'll see. Yeah, it is pretty toxic. Or there's gonna be a guy that flies on Microsoft Flight Simulator, and he's gonna tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I play simulators. I know what I'm saying. Yeah.
But that's the type of thing you'd get from people commenting online.
It happens.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, what I was wondering is that I recently learned that planes can now basically fly themselves. Is this true? In terms of like, is there tech in terms of like computer guys who literally just fly the plane from like the technical side of it? They don't even need to be on the plane.
Yeah, that's called a drone.
No, a drone. I understand a drone, but like doing it with like Airbuses and Boeings.
Technically, yeah.
So, yeah. So like maybe I'm.
They're not doing it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, there's drones,
Yes
like the
and
little
no.
ones with the 4 little,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
or
yeah.
6 or whatever.
They
Whatever
do
the hell
for,
it is,
like,
like the little camera
fucking
drones. But then they actually
landscape
have like
shots.
military drones, which look like planes, but just
Which
are
blow people up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Pack quite a bit more firepower than your average commercial plane.
Yeah.
But those are pretty much like planes. They're very similar. It's not like a little hovering thing. It's a real, and that I guess could be. And then, but there's no people on board.
Right.
And so, while technically you could fly, I think, anyways, I'm pretty sure the technology's there. You could fly like a passenger commercial plane.
Just like digitally.
From home or whatever.
Yeah.
Not from home, but it would be from a specific facility.
Yeah.
But, you know, remotely. Who's going to get on that plane? You know?
Right.
Because
right.
part of the thing is that, first of all, you need to be there sometimes to experience and to know what is going on. Like,
of course.
Because, again, like, worst case scenario, if you're flying the plane as a pilot and, like, you know, something goes wrong and like you can't trust your instruments anymore or something, whatever, you can fall back on like the basics of your training. You can actually like look out one of the windows, see if you can see something, like see if the engine's messed up or whatever. And you can fly the aircraft yourself, like go back to the basics, the VFR, as I said, and look out the window and fly it. You know, so worst comes to worst, you can still do something. Yeah. But like, what's the pilot's incentive if he's sitting at home comfortable to fly the plane and he really put his life on the line?
Richard on his Microsoft
simulator.
Like
literally, like who's I'm telling you right now, if there isn't at least, maybe in the future I can see there being only like maybe one pilot on a plane.
Yeah.
But like, and then, you know, maybe someone else on the ground, like, and they're both kind of working in tandem.
Yeah.
But like, who's gonna get on a plane where their pilot isn't even in the plane, and the pilot's like, "Oh well, I tried my best. They're crashing.
Yeah.
I'm safe
That's a
though."
good point, actually. Yeah,
because they would still obviously probably be legally liable, but
Hey, Troy.
Yeah, how you doing, bud? Thanks for interrupting. But like, so I don't know. I don't think people would trust it. You got to kind of put the trust in the passenger a bit too, like make them not so apprehensive, because a lot of people don't trust flying to begin with.
Yeah.
You know, they get scared of it. So if you suddenly say, no, we don't even have any person actually in the plane flying. Just some dude, you know, in a simulator on the ground fiddling with a joystick.
With his Xbox controller. Like the dude in the submersible Titanic. Yeah. No, that's like, I didn't even think about that. It's like the captain has more of an incentive to save the plane if he's in the plane.
Saving his own life too.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, you know, there's always a little bit of like, I want to save people.
Yeah.
But also, like, if you don't have that, at least you can be confident in the fact that the pilot wants to save his own life and he's looking out for himself at least.
Right.
You know.
100%.
But yeah, if you're not talking about like drones and stuff, if you're talking more like autopilot.
Yeah.
Kind of. They can kind of fly it themselves. Like, like autopilot is used during cruise, which is like the portion where you're already at altitude you want and you're just going to the destination, and that like pilots aren't even touching the controls. They're just the plane is just, they're checking it, and they obviously have to make little corrections and stuff. Like, you still need someone to be watching it, but the plane at that point is kind of flying itself, and you're just guiding it. But then and the autopilot will even bring it down into like its descent and into like almost not into landing, but like it'll bring it down all the way. And do most of the work, but you still have to be there. You still have to watch. You still have to be making adjustments. You still there's still technical skill required. There's still a reason why pilots, you know, are paid.
Of course.
Right. But one way so a pilot that I knew, he described it this way, and I really liked the way he said it. It's like 90% of the time, you know, pilots are overpaid. But, you know, that 10 or even 5% of time where they are needed, they're underpaid.
Right.
I keep swearing, but
we'll bleep it out.
But they're underpaid because that's what, like, when stuff goes wrong and, like, you know, you need to have someone there to make an executive decision and really like be in control. You're not going to have some guy in his basement doing that, or
Absolutely.
A computer doing that. You need someone with the actual technical skill and the decision-making ability to actually do something about it.
When you're doing these courses and when you're training and when you're flying, is there any way that people measure, like, just like stress tolerance? Like, how are you under pressure? Like, is there any, because I feel like that would also be, like you said, that 5% of the times if something goes wrong, you need that person there.
Yes, that is definitely measured. I don't know if it's not really measured. It's kind of hard to measure something like that on a numerical scale.
And it's hard to put them in a real situation where there is like a do or die scenario.
Yeah, but what they do is you're always getting tested.
Yeah.
Whether or not you're just doing a normal flight or whether, because when you have a co-pilot or, you know, you have your captain or whatever, you're always kind of semi under evaluation. You know, if I'm with my instructor, even though, like, the instructor says, all right, it's your flight, you know, I'm just here along for the ride. They'll say that. They'll be like, you know, you've advanced enough. I trust you to do everything. You know, I don't need to even say a word. I can just watch. Yeah. But they're still watching. Yeah. And your co-pilot is still watching, your captain is still watching, they're still watching. And so if they notice that you can perform well and under pressure, and, like, because situations will come up. Like, I can give an example. Like, one of my moments that I think gave my instructor really the confidence in me, and, like, to be like, okay, I think you're just about ready to take your flight test, which is, like, with an examiner. Yeah. Was like, at one point we were flying and when we went up, because especially with little planes, wind is a big thing. Yep. Like, strong wind, and you, like, it's really hard to fly, and you get blown off course and whatever. And one big thing when coming in on landing is crosswind, which is wind that's coming across the runway. Yeah. Like, for example, at like a 90-degree angle. And with heavy crosswinds will kind of blow you off course and make you, like, if you're not ready for it, make you not, like, miss the runway completely. And that's something that's really dangerous. And
you're saying like, as you're taking off, miss the runway?
No. Well, as you're taking off, it can blow you off course, but I'm just talking specifically when you're coming in to land.
To land? Oh, and it's gonna
push you off course.
Got it.
So we went up. We were like, okay, the wind's slightly strong, but it's still well within, like, our like, the maximum we're allowed and whatever. Yeah. And then as we were flying, we were like, oh, wind's getting stronger and stronger. And obviously in these little planes, you don't have, like, all the gadgets that tell you everything. Like, it's fairly basic. So we were flying and the winds kept getting stronger and stronger. We're like, all right, I think it's time to go back and land. Like, and by this point, like, the winds were like 28 knots, I believe, which might not say anything to you, but 28 knots gusting to 35. And gusting is when, like, the wind, gusts, and it stops, and then gusts again. That's even worse because it's unpredictable. If it's predictable, you can deal with it. If it's unpredictable, then it's really hard to deal with. Yeah. And our maximums were, I think, like 25. So we were, like, in the time that we had been flying, it had gone over our maximums. Or I think maybe even less than that.
What determines the maximum? Is it the plane or is it the
plane?
Pilot?
It's the manufacturer.
Okay.
The manufacturer sets a maximum. Yeah. And sometimes the flight schools themselves will set a maximum. They'll be like, we don't want any of our students flying our planes in winds above this.
Got it.
Yeah, and so, like, and 28 knots for a big plane isn't all that much, but for a small plane, like, it pushes you. Yeah. So we were coming into land, and my instructor, she's like, do you want me to take care of it? I'm like, no, I got this. And she's like, okay. And by this point, she was like she already had trusted me a fair amount. Yeah. And so I did it, and and what you do in a crosswind is you put the nose of the plane into the wind a bit. Yeah. So, like, let's say it's coming from the right, and, like, let's say the landing is straight in front of me. Yeah. But the wind's coming in this way. You'll put the nose of the aircraft there, And obviously the winds were strong, so I was landing the plane like the runway was there, and I was landing it here. I was actually looking out my side window instead of the front windshield. I was looking at my side window to land the plane.
Damn.
So like my wings were obviously not fully lined up, but were like on a diagonal with the runway instead of like a 90 degree.
That's wild.
And it was crazy. And she herself was like, holy shit, like this is actually kind of brutal wind. And I managed it perfectly. And then what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to let it touch down and then stop like correcting it to go that way and just let the wind push it back and like kind of just realign yourself with the runway. Yeah. And so I did it perfectly. Like honestly, I would say one of my smoothest landings too. That's awesome. It was beautiful. And then she just looked at me. She was like, "Holy, I keep swearing." But she was like, "Oh wow, that was really good." Yeah. And then I felt good about myself there. But
that was awesome.
Yeah, no, it was really nice.
That's cool.
And yeah, so that's like one of the kind of dangers of it, but building trust.
Were you ever scared of planes growing up? Were you ever scared of flying?
No.
So I guess maybe I'm just wondering, like, now that you fly them yourself, does it make you more confident in like when you're up in the air? Because I feel like the more you know it, the better you'd feel about flying.
Yes and no, but it's like as they say, like, ignorance is bliss.
Right.
The more you know what could go wrong.
Got it.
Right? But also the more you know, the more you kind of can guess and estimate and like understand, like, okay, like, you know, you'll be flying as a passenger, like on a plane, and then you'll be like, oh, the pilot's doing this. As a normal passenger, you're like, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
But then as like someone who knows at least a bit, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Or like, yeah, okay, he's handling this well. So you kind of, it's much easier to assure yourself.
There's more feedback.
Yeah, like, well, I noticed like some people get really scared with like turbulence or crosswind landings, as I said, where the plane has to be kind of on like angled into the wind and angled away from the runway a bit, off the runway. And so like normal people, they'd be like I'm not supposed to be able to see the runway from my seat, but you know, as someone who's done it before and who's experienced it, you're like, okay, no, this is the proper technique, they're doing it right. So things like that, like you know, but if things are going wrong, you also know. But I would say it's made me more confident and even more secure, because like in most cases pilots know what they're doing and they're actually doing well, and like aviation and like flying is one of the safest modes of transport. So like I'm never really worried.
That's awesome. We'll talk more about it.
Yeah.
We're going to take a break for the cameras to cool down, and I'm going to close this fucking window because this guy's buzzing his grass.
That's a great idea. Hello?
Good. Okay. It happened where episode 40.
Honestly,
episode
like
40
of it was missing.
There was a girl, when we took the break, she turned her thing off. And then we got it started again, and her thing was still off. So I had to go through and get the audio from the camera, which was awful, and caption the whole thing. It was like,
oh, that's brutal.
Yeah. So
I don't know,
you learn lessons.
I think for a bit of it at the start, I kind of had the mic like here, which was a little far, so it might. No, the sound might not have captured as well.
You should be chill. So let's see.
I've been sitting like this, showing everyone my feet. I've been like kind of like
messing with your feet.
Yeah, just like I need something to.
It might be high enough. You should be good.
Give me a stress ball. Give me a fidget spinner. Maybe like
one of those fidget spinners. Kids. Those were sick. Huh? I saw one. I came across one in my basement the other day, and I was like, you know what? Even though at the time we made fun of people who had these fidget spinners, it was like
they were fun.
It was like it's like one of the most just like non-technological toys of the modern era, you know what I mean? Like back then they'd have spinning tops and all these like cool toys that didn't completely rot your brain out, and finally we had like a fidget spinner, which was like kind of like just like an old time toy. It wasn't an iPad, it was not a video game, it was just some cool thing you just
but it wasn't really a toy that you just play with. It was more like something you just do when you're doing something else.
I guess that's kind of what
nowadays I'm not wearing it right now, but I have a ring, and the ring itself has like a little twisty bit, so like anytime I'm in class I'm like twisting it around and shit.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's like undiagnosed ADHD or some shit. Not actually. But
That's fair.
no, I'm not gonna self-diagnose myself with anything.
No, me neither. Even if I was told that I should get checked for ADHD, I wouldn't go.
Yeah, no. Why give
I don't
yourself
need
an excuse?
I don't need the label. Yeah.
Why give yourself an excuse to be like, oh, I didn't do well because I have ADHD?
Exactly.
That's one of the things my parents, they were like,
yeah,
we're not gonna even check unless it's something obviously serious. Nah, he doesn't have Down syndrome. But no, but unless it was obviously serious, but they're like, we're not gonna give them any reason to not try their hardest.
Absolutely.
And I agree with that.
That's awesome. I agree. So we were talking about
sorry, what's awesome? Down syndrome?
Yeah, Down syndrome is pretty awesome. Yeah. Down syndrome people are apparently some of the happiest people in the world.
The way I see it is, this might sound weird, but autistic kids are like cats and Down syndrome kids are like dogs.
Explain. Is this going into the episode?
No, probably not. I hope not. Are we on air right now?
We're on air.
Oh, I thought you were gonna like reintroduce it.
We can cut it out.
Yeah, please. Okay, let's. Do you want this to be on?
It's good. Yeah, maybe. Sure.
Oh no! See, this is the type of stuff that gets me canceled. How do we go from airplanes to Down syndrome? Anyways,
okay,
the way I see it, is Down syndrome happy, kind of, kind of like they want to be with you, they want to follow you. I've seen it, and we have family friends that their son had Down syndrome, and he was just always happy, like he sometimes he could have kind of fits and like be mad and stuff, but like just generally happy, kind of just like kind of dog like dog like not a dog, not to insult them, but the kids, I mean. Sorry. And then autistic is more kind of careful, more like they were again less friendly with everyone, kind of like they had to get to know you a bit to like see you a few times before they kind of warmed up. They're kind of like cats, like just a little bit more skittish a little bit, and they could either really like you or just be really just really not like you, really moody around you. So it's just like, where it's like it's a lot more up and down emotionally, whereas dogs, it's more constant but maybe more physical. That's a good analogy. You might get canceled, but that's fine. If so, cut it out. Shout out to the autistic viewers we have, if any. Well, what's your demographic like? It's mostly university students, so maybe there's some autistic. Depends. Probably. You know, there are some people, like some autistic people who have like that genius IQ. Yeah, but that's like high functioning. Yeah. That's high functioning. Like, there's a vast difference between high functioning and serious, like severe. True. 100%. So, to get back into pilot stuff, God. The question I left you on there, or that you wanted to get back to, was I totally missed the stress. Like, how do they test? How do stress? They measure? So you did give the example of landing diagonally, and just because you're always getting tested, you're always getting watched, and that's kind of a measure of it. And just to kind of wrap it up, so your instructor is always testing, your co-pilots, they're always watching, and so like they see it, and you'll encounter a variety of situations. Like they might not have a proper full measure of you as a pilot and your skill, and you're able to handle stress, within, you can't just tell within one flight, but it has to be like a sum of many flights where you get put into many different scenarios, and then you can see what you need to work on, or just how you, especially how you handle stress. Because some people, it's just because they are not handling it well because of experience. Like, they're just lacking experience, and when they get more experience, they'll be more confident and like they'll be more sure of themselves. And some people are just genuinely don't handle it, even if they're super experienced. Like, we have, not we, but in the airline industry, there are commercial pilots that have been first officers, so like the co-pilots, for years, and just never advanced to captain. They do their whole career as co-pilots. Interesting. Just because they were never deemed ready, or just never deemed themselves, or just never wanted it, but often were never deemed ready to make that next step. Because to be a captain, you have to be decisive, you have to be able to handle stress, you have to be confident in your ability, and obviously experienced. So, if you can't demonstrate that and people don't think you're ready, oftentimes when they're considering someone for a captain upgrade, they'll be like, oh, this guy's been flying with us, or this girl or whoever has been flying with us for a few years, and we think they're pretty good. We'll ask people that fly with them. We'll do, test flights where they'll specifically be like watched and evaluated, and that's when they're actually evaluated.
Yep.
But it's a sum of, and and some people they're like, yeah, no, he's not ready or she's not ready. And sometimes that time that never comes, like they'll never be ready.
Yeah.
And that's just it. Like, but I think a lot of pilots end up being very assertive and kind of confident people.
Yeah.
Just because that's kind of what the job requires and that's what the job kind of builds.
Yeah.
So it's like a learned behavior.
Interesting.
And a lot do end up kind of developing some type of very forward mannerism.
That's interesting. Before we switch, I'm going to switch into business eventually here. But I wanted to ask about where you study. Was it like a class? Were you with a group of like students who were trying to learn this?
No. Yes, no. It depends how big the school is. I did it. Our school only probably had like 30 students at most.
Yeah.
And even then, they wouldn't all be at the same time and everything. So also it was typically like a one-on-one with an instructor.
Got it.
Or like, when they're teaching you the theory stuff, what you read in books, whatever, that they can do with like multiple different students at the same time. If you're all at around the same level, like all at around, because there's no point teaching, a guy that's on his first day versus someone that's on their 20th day or their 20th lesson, for example, the same stuff. So if it's a big school, they'll sometimes do the theory stuff all at once. For all the people around the same level. But when it comes to actually flying, obviously, you'll have two seats. You'll have the captain seat or the two pilot seats. So you can't have a class like that. So once it becomes flying time and the practical side of it, that's just straight one-on-one with your instructor.
Got it.
But yeah, it's just the classroom stuff that might be taught. Like I had classes with one other student and then our instructor.
Got it.
But we were small. Like the big schools, they'll do like 30 students at the same time.
So for young pilots, I can probably guess what it is for the older generation, but for young pilots, what is the gender split like? Is it mostly men? Is it 50-50? What have you seen?
Because still mostly men. It's always been mostly men.
Yeah.
I can tell you roughly, I did some research on it, though it's been some time, so I might not get the exact percentages right.
Yeah.
But roughly, in the aviation industry as a whole, for pilots specifically, but this is counting all age pilots.
Yeah.
I think the split was something like, it was, I think 80 or 85% men.
Yeah.
It was like 80-20, roughly around there. And then even furthermore, of those 80% men, probably only 5 to 10% of them were black, and then and then I don't know what the other percentages were for the other races, but majority white men is what is probably at least 60% of piloting is white men.
So the reason I asked
I'm not helping the equalized
the diversity.
Statistic. No, I'm not a diversity hire.
That's the thing. This is what I want to bring up with you, is because there's a lot of talk in 2024 about this DEI hiring stuff, diversity, equity, inclusion. You're not in the best position for that new ideology.
Yes and no. I would say, but the reason why diversity hiring was such a big kind of movement factor in hiring processes was because the people tend to like and tend to relate to and tend to hire the people that are most similar to them. So if you're in a white man dominated workplace, if the person that's interviewing you and supposed to be hiring is a white man, they'll find more in common with you if you're also a white man than they will with anyone else. So that's why there was kind of a hiring imbalance, because people will hire who's like them. So that's why I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. Sometimes it gets taken a bit out of hand, but diversity hiring is to kind of equalize that, to make it so they're not just hiring on their personal preference, but just more generally, though sometimes it can get a little like, you know, it's not always the best fit.
Right.
Which I think should always kind of be the main factor. Like, you want to grab whoever's the best fit for it.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what race, gender, whatever religion, whatever they are, if they're the best fit for that job.
Just based on competence.
Yeah. I think that's what it should be. But you can't always measure that the same. But aviation, I would say it hasn't been hit as hard by that, like hasn't been affected as much, simply because it's a very technical skill.
Yeah.
And if you haven't jumped through all the hoops, if you haven't completed all the training, if you haven't reached the level of competency, it's not that like they won't want to hire you, they simply can't.
Yeah.
Like, there are certain levels you need to reach, and if you've reached all those levels and you've proven yourself, doesn't matter what race or gender you are, they will hire you. If obviously if they're hiring.
Yeah. Like,
if there's two equal people, they might, and they have a very white man dominated workplace, maybe they'll choose someone of a different race or a woman or whatever. But chances are it's fairly it's fairly indiscriminate, and like, it's just whoever's the best.
Yeah. Right? That's good. That's interesting.
So I would say, but when it comes to jobs like, you know, an office job or something, that's where kind of they get affected by it a lot more, because you know, you no one's life is on the line if you pick someone who's worse, someone who's less competent. Yeah. And I'm not saying that, you know, anyone of any particular race or gender is less competent, but I'm just saying that, like, sometimes they don't always pick it.
Absolutely. So this is what I wanted to show you.
Yeah, what are you looking at porn, everyone?
No. Let's see.
You got reflective glasses on, guy. We can see it.
So this is no. So this is a headline. This is ridiculous, but obviously this the number one the airline that is bringing this up for me was United Airlines, because they set a diversity goal to have 50% of their pilots be women.
That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
I'm not saying it like as like a kind of, I'm not even saying it in a hating way, but it's just not going to happen. There isn't that much supply.
Right.
Yeah, they could
unless they force it.
Unless they fire 40% of the men. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And not even because it's not wanted, but just there isn't enough women going into training. There are more. You asked about my age group. Yes, definitely more than there were before. Yeah. Like I said, it was probably, the split was probably 80-20 or 85-15 maybe. Now I would say it's probably more 25-75 or maybe even like 70-30. Like, it's getting better. Yeah. And they're getting more and more women interested, but like for it to be 50-50 would take ages. Yeah. Like, it's not when what was the timeline they gave?
2030.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
Yeah.
They would it's possible. They just have to fire a lot of guys.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. It's just like, I also think that there has to be like a biological factor to it, that men are more interested in things than women.
No, I think it's just it's not. I don't think it's a biological factor, because there's a kind of, there's some physical factor to it, but there's no great physical ability that's I mean, obviously you have to have good eyesight and get it. Yeah, but there's nothing in it about it that makes it, you know, more doable for men than it is for women. It's just how we're raised, and the way I see it is that women, when they're, you know, little girls, oftentimes are like, what are girls given as toys and stuff? How are they raised? Right. Like, you know, girls are given like dolls, and they're given like, and I'm not saying all girls are like that, but, you know, there's some that aren't. Yeah. You know.
So you think it's more of a nurture thing than a nature thing? I think it's a
nurturing thing. Like, you know, guys are more pushed towards like STEM fields, or like more like technical things, or trades, or, you know, whatever. Yeah. But like, you know, a little bit more hands-on stuff, which is what aviation is a lot. It's a little bit of both, but hands-on is an important part of it. Yeah. And it's very much in the realm of engineering and stuff like that. not that I'm an engineer at all, but you know, you have to have a grasp of physics and
Yep.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then whereas women are pushed maybe just in different directions, or it's not that they can't do it, it's not that they wouldn't like it. It's just they don't. A lot of times they just don't even consider it.
Yeah.
Like they consider other things.
It's just not an interest.
Yeah, it's not an interest. That's it.
I find it interesting too.
I think it would be good if they made it more of an interest, because I would love to see like more female pilots. But like that has to start. You know, that would have had to, if they wanted it to reach by 2030, they would have had to start indoctrinating pretty much young women, or you know, little girls, like ages ago.
Literally.
That sounds crazy, but
no, but it's true. That's kind of what they're doing. Going into the kindergarten classes with paper airplanes and shit.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it's just interests, like where the interests lie.
Yeah,
I think.
I agree, because I find it interesting. Like, I'll talk to a student at U of T about this, a girl, and I'll be like, women just don't care as much about flying planes and driving trucks and this type of physical thing than dudes. And then
things.
and she's trying to argue back, and I'm like, no, women are more interested in social things and people, and guys care more about physical like tasks. And I'm like, you are in psychology.
Yeah.
Like, well, you're arguing with me about this. You're studying psychology right now.
It's
that's
not,
all
it's
people.
not because we're more disposed and we're better at it or anything. It's just like guys, when we're young, we're given Hot Wheels and like little cars, and we're given little, you know, I was given little airplanes too, and I was like so like me, the mechanical side of it like interested me, because that's kind of what I grew up with. But I'm sure if you give a little boy, like I don't know, dolls, I guess.
Yeah.
If you give them dolls, I was trying to find something more concrete, like because generalizing girls and dolls is kind of they had other stuff. I don't know. I don't know what little girls played with, but if you give them dolls, then they would probably be more interested in like the social aspect too.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, I see my little cousins and they're like, their dolls are talking to each other and that's where. Whereas the guys, it's like, my truck hit your truck.
yeah. That's interesting.
It's just a 6-car pileup.
So you think it's more of a nurture thing. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's
what I think. More like, I think it's obviously it's both, but in terms of percentage, for me, I feel like it's more nature. But that could just, I don't know. We could just have a difference of opinion.
The way because I've met quite a few female pilots.
Yeah.
And like in my courses and actual just fully fledged pilots now, and a lot of them, I'm not saying all of them, some of them just came from normal whatever background, but oftentimes they were either daughters of pilots.
Yep. So
they got raised around it, and so that's why I see the nurture thing. They got the thought of it kind of got ingrained in their mind, and the interest of it got ingrained in their mind, or otherwise it was daughters of like, you know, engineers, and I'm not talking just their fathers were engineers, but maybe their moms were engineers or whatever.
Yeah.
But like engineers or similar STEM fields or stuff like that, like so their interest was kind of more in that area. So that's why I say it's nurture, because it's more. They just got conditioned a bit that way. Yeah. Because
I hear it. That's a good point.
I'm a great point of it. My dad's a pilot. My mom is a flight attendant. You know, I was raised in aviation, and where am I? Going into aviation.
There you go. That's awesome.
Yeah, so it affects everyone.
That's a good point. I hear you. This last headline, and then we'll move.
I don't know how you ended up going from, I don't know how you followed your parents' footsteps, because I don't think either of them were virgins, but.
Good one. All
right, sorry. I had to
classic humor from Seb coming on the pod. Help wanted. Okay. FAA to hire workers with severe intellectual disabilities. So now this is where pilots. DEI goes too far. This is not pilots.
No, definitely not. No.
This is the Federal Aviation Administration is looking to round out its staff with the most underrepresented people in today's aspiring workforce. Those who suffer severe intellectual disabilities, psychiatric issues, and other mental or physical conditions are being actively recruited, Fox reported.
I can tell you that any of those people that they hire will not be allowed anywhere near airplanes.
Anywhere near the cockpit?
Anywhere near any airplane.
Okay.
They don't want someone that, like they said, what was it? Severe mental... No.
Intellectual disabilities.
No, it's not the intellectual part. Yeah, okay, you gotta have some, skill. But no, it's you also said mental, like, when you said that, I don't know what you said, but whatever. When you said that makes me think someone who is not necessarily fully stable, not necessarily because it's their fault, but it might be genetic.
Psychiatric issues.
Psychiatric issues. Yeah. Do you want someone with psychiatric issues near a plane? No. Yeah, that's how terrorism happens.
Yeah.
No, so that would be more like office jobs, maybe.
Yeah.
Or they need janitors. I'm not to demean it, but it wouldn't be anywhere near the actual aircraft itself.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you like.
Let's put some water in the gas tanks. No.
Shifting gears.
See.
What I don't understand is that since you seem very, very passionate about aviation, why are you studying business?
Business is, one of the things is, I love business too. I'm very passionate about it. And also the fact that university is cheaper in Quebec, that also helps kind of allow it.
Yep.
But pretty much my goal is either to start my own company, or hopefully sometime in the future, once I become a pilot, I would like to work, I don't know, 5-10 years maybe, as a pilot, and then maybe move into like a management position, because that's in airlines, a lot of management positions, especially in the operations side, are held by pilots or guys or girls who were pilots.
Got it.
Like, because it's kind of just like, if you see it, it's not really a hierarchy because everyone has their own role.
Yep.
But if you see it in a hierarchical way, that makes sense. Pilots are like the top of the kind of the worker group, I guess, the worker class.
Yep. Like
the low level workers, I guess. And so if you take from the top of the worker class and move up into the middle management portion, you'd be taking pilots. So there's a lot of pilots in like middle management and even upper management positions.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's the pilots with university degrees, not necessarily in business, but oftentimes in business.
Yeah.
Guys or girls with just bachelors or MBAs or masters, PhDs, whatever. They end up going further.
Absolutely.
They end up getting selected. So that's kind of the goal. And it's not just like a shot in the dark. It is actually, a fairly realistic goal. It's not guaranteed or anything, but it's fairly realistic to assume that with, a solid educational base and plus having experience as a pilot, because that's great for them. They want someone that knows the operation, and they want someone to have also kind of the knowledge and the educational background to work on the business side of things and not just the how the business works. That's pretty much why I wanted to do it. I might not I might start my own company. I don't know. It's just a way of combining two of my interests.
Absolutely. Really. Yeah, that's awesome. And it opens more doors. It gives you more opportunities.
And especially companies are so much more likely to hire you if you have a university degree too.
Do you think that still applies as much today?
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes. Because, the thing is that it already takes enough time to get your pilot license that's kind of like the educational segment.
Got it.
Or training or whatever of the pilots. So, just as a normal job, the preemptive education to get that job would be a bachelor's degree.
Yeah.
Us, it's the pilot license. So then it's like going for a job that requires a bachelor's degree with a bachelor's and a master's.
Got it.
That's the equivalent.
Yeah.
So it's having the pilot license and the bachelor's is extra. It's more than you need.
Yeah.
Definitely ups your chances, and especially Air Canada, which is our biggest airline in Canada.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
They love people with pilots with degrees.
Yeah.
And that's one of the, it's not required, but the difference between getting in with or without a degree as a pilot, you would need so much, you need I don't know what the numbers are, but probably like at least 3-4 years more experience.
Wow.
With that one than you would with one.
Interesting.
So it's like you get in much quicker.
Yeah.
And you might say, oh, well, if it only saves you 3 years, you spent 3-4 years on your degree.
I was going to say that, yeah.
But you still have the degree.
Right.
So it's going to serve you elsewhere too.
Right.
So it's not just single purpose. It serves you. It'll serve me once I'm 40. It'll serve me once I'm 30. It'll serve me once I'm 50. It'll serve me, 3 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I hear you. What do you think about those, not to pivot away from this, but what do you think about those Boeing guys that killed themselves? You hear about that? The Boeing quality inspection guys who are taking Boeing to court.
Whistleblowers.
The whistleblowers.
Well,
better watch what you say.
I will keep my thoughts to myself and
100%.
instantly. No, I haven't looked into it too much, honestly.
Yeah.
First of all, that's the state stuff. You asked me about, you were talking about United and stuff. Like, I have a general knowledge of what's happening in the States aviation-wise, but my focus is much more Canada. That was all in the States. And yes, Boeing is in an international company, but never really checked into it much. But a little bit suspicious.
Yeah.
They each died about, what was it, like a week or two, or like right before they were supposed to go on trial, I think, and testify. If it happened once, I would be like, all right, yeah, that's fair. Yeah. Twice, crazy coincidence. It's possible, but crazy coincidence.
Yeah.
Granted, one of them wasn't, I think, if I remember correctly, wasn't in necessarily the best health.
Okay.
I think he had like some type of, I think he had a disease, maybe not.
Got it.
But he already had a disease or something. So like him, it could be explained.
Yeah.
But the other one, I'm pretty sure was like, he was like 40 or something and was like fairly healthy. Like people don't just drop dead at 40.
Yeah.
We're not cavemen anymore. We can live past that age.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was kind of suspicious, but I haven't looked into it.
That's fair.
I am not at the level to be worrying about that.
Absolutely. Don't have to think about that.
Yeah, no.
That's fair. That's completely fair. They also, because like just Boeing in general, like has been under some heat in the last few months, I'd say. They also have 2 astronauts stuck in space. Have you heard about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is probably the one I've heard about a little bit more.
Yeah. And
that's actually a genuine concern of mine.
Yeah.
Well, not because I'm, please let them live, but I would like them to live. But it's just they took a huge hit financially and reputation wise, and like they had to, and legally, like they had to defend themselves, and so their focus shifted, and it's expensive to bring people back.
Yeah.
So I'm not talking from the dead,
but
from space. But their attention just shifted. They will bring them back, but like that's a.
I think they're asking Elon to do it.
Yeah, but they're like, we don't really have the money to do it right now, so they might have to like subcontract it out or whatever.
Damn.
Which will look good on SpaceX, and will look even worse on Boeing. So they're kind of just digging themselves deeper.
It's interesting.
My mic is very far from my.
You're chilling. Let's get some ASMR with that bubbly going. So
wait, what is it? I don't have the nails for it. You gotta like click.
Yeah. It's got the foam on it.
I'll just like smack my lips. Give me some chips.
I got chips.
No, I'm joking.
No chance I'm giving you chips for this podcast. You're gonna see the watch time spike as soon as you take that crunch. Go right down.
Go right up.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna swap out this battery real quick, and then we'll jump back into it.
Yeah, I'm just probably it just appears like I'm just staring off into the void right now.
Yeah.
Now I can just break the fourth wall and stare right at the viewers.
How's the fitness been for you?
Some things are harder to fit in than others. What the fitness? I don't know. Just a joke about.
Have you been hitting the gym?
No.
You were telling me a bit off camera.
Yeah, I do when I'm at school.
Yeah.
But because at school, like the gym is right there.
Yeah.
I'm like 2 minutes away.
Yeah.
It's light. It's really easy to go. I'll go in between classes or like after or before classes. Super easy. I'm not the best gym goer. I go by convenience more than by
regimented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By need, I guess. Yeah, like now the closest gym is like 20, 25 minutes away, and I don't have a membership with them because I'm only, visiting for a short while. But once I go back to Quebec, I'll hop back on.
That's good.
I don't know.
That's good.
Funny enough, the summer is my bulking time.
Yeah.
Instead of
in the winter.
Yeah,
people
everyone wants to get skinny for the summer. I try to bulk up and put on the pounds.
Yeah.
When I'm not paying for my groceries.
There you go.
I'm back chilling with my parents. So.
Yep. That's good. That's good. I want to gain a few pounds. I want to get up to 180. That's my dream weight.
Oh yeah.
Now your camera's up. All right, time to put your battery in. We have 3, I guess 4 pieces of the puzzle now that you've come on. Nico, Andy, myself, and you. Obviously, I'm the host. I don't really count. But last one we're waiting for is Nick.
Again, super sad about the 6th.
The 6th member.
Yeah, the 6th member.
R.I.P.
Died too soon.
Yep. But.
You know what we need to do? Make a boy band.
A boy band?
No.
Hell no.
Maybe like a band of criminals? Arsonists?
Arsonists?
Yeah.
What's the worst criminal to be? What's the worst crime
that you could commit? That I can commit?
No, that
or that
person,
one can
that
commit?
one can commit. Feel free to be as detailed as you wish.
I think I'll avoid that, but I can give a brief summary.
I don't know if Air Canada is going to want to see this.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing. Like, I kind of got to be fairly PG.
What's the worst form of torture?
Okay, whoa. Let me answer the first question first. Like, someone like, I don't know, Ted Bundy or something? Like, serial rapist and serial murderer?
Yeah.
Like, 2 times?
Yeah.
Or would that count as 2? Like,
no,
or would you allow that?
I'd allow that as 1.
You would allow serial rape?
Yeah.
That's, wow.
Yep.
You would allow that?
No, not like that. I mean, I'd count it for this question.
You count it as an answer.
Yeah.
Carter for Prime Minister.
You were telling me before about you watching, do you watch these real true crime documentaries? Like all the ladies do?
Not true crime.
No.
Fake crime.
Yeah.
I recently started watching Dexter. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's like all fake.
That's fair.
It's really well done though.
That's good.
Fair. I really like it. But
that's good.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be into that. I always like any girl that would be like, oh, I watch, I like watching the horror horror. What do you call that?
Murder mystery type thing.
I'm like, why do you like watching that?
Yeah.
Don't you want to watch something like happy or interesting?
Yeah.
But then, to be fair,
it's the drama.
Like, and what do you watch? Documentaries?
Yeah.
About planes? Sometimes.
Yeah. That's fair. It's the drama that gets them.
No, I don't think any guy can talk, considering that like every guy when they were younger used to watch Pawn Stars when they would come up or something like that. Yeah. Or like what were the other shows? Pawn Stars, like just the random shows that would come up and you'd end up watching.
Yeah. Classic.
Do you have nothing to add to that? I was asking you. Okay, thank you.
Are you talking about Pawn Stars, the TV show, or Pawn Stars the way that Nico and every one of us would refer to Pawn Stars in elementary school? Do you know what I'm talking about? That's just
porn stars, my guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you follow Instagram models?
No.
Okay, good. I was going to rip you for that if you did.
I do follow some cute Instagram girls.
That you know?
But they're not models.
Do you know them?
No. Oh. However, I think there's only one that I follow. I don't even know her name. But it's because she's an Olympian.
That's fair.
That I find cute.
That's fair.
So I was like, supporting Canada.
Yeah. That's patriotism. Yeah.
Don't worry, that will be quickly unfollowed once I have a girlfriend.
There you go.
Because I know they don't appreciate that.
There you go. Very gentlemanly of you.
I'm a gentleman of true noble heart.
Did you watch the beach volleyball Olympics?
No.
Got great viewership in the women's Olympics.
What?
Beach volleyball got great viewership.
Oh, I assume so, yeah.
Yeah. Out of all the women's sports.
Sadly, we can't do much here.
No.
You can't play beach volleyball in parkas.
No. Wait, what?
Just making a joke of Canada being cold.
Oh yeah.
Where's your spirit, man?
Listen, man.
You're half Mexican, I get.
I'm not there fully.
Yeah.
I'm not there.
You're still at the beaches back in, or wherever the
I'm still trying to get used to your new haircut.
Yeah, it's bad. I look like I'm going to join the military.
Would you ever join the military?
Air Force, yeah.
Yeah.
The chair force.
The what now?
Chair force. That's a joke, but no.
I was talking about this with my family.
I would join the Air Force if I got a decent enough. If I could be a fighter pilot, I would. But for any other pilot position or any other, no.
I was thinking about. I said this yesterday. I was like, in 2024, if Canada actually got into a war, would joining the army be noble or stupid? Because I don't think I'm going to fight for Justin Trudeau.
That's not.
He'd probably get us into some dumb shit war for like Ukraine or something.
I wouldn't fight necessarily. I mean, it depends. Like, depends the situation. But 90% of the time, I wouldn't fight overseas.
Right.
Because what's our interest?
Yeah.
I would be more like I wouldn't fight necessarily on the behalf of another country.
Right.
Maybe I would be more inclined to countries that bring us a lot of, prosperity or can help. Like, we trade. We have a lot of trade with like the UK. We have a lot of trade with the States, United States, even Mexico. Maybe to defend. Like, and even then, that's an if. But maybe to defend our own interests.
Yeah.
Like, America staying the way it is and staying, free and whatever, and still existing benefits us as well as Canadians because of our trade and all this stuff. And not that they necessarily need our help.
Right.
They got their own military, way better and bigger than ours. But but yeah, like that I would consider. But especially on our home turf. Yeah. Like if someone was invading Canada, I would do it.
100%. Yeah.
100%. No.
Yeah.
But I'm not necessarily a massive patriot, but I would definitely join if our country was actually itself being attacked. Yeah, but we have no business really fighting, and I understand sending
especially with the technology.
Help. I understand sending economic help or something like that, or like material help or whatever.
Yeah.
To other countries, like to countries that are kind of, it's in our interest for them to win or survive or whatever. Like Ukraine, I understand sending, because like it kind of benefits us in the long run a bit. But yeah, we have no business going to actually fight there and sending troops there.
I hear you.
I mean, they have volunteers from like Canada and the States and whatever, and other European countries, but we have no business actually mobilizing.
Yeah. It makes sense.
Yeah.
It's been a good episode.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts? Any like a last topic that we haven't talked about that you want to discuss before we wrap up?
Well, just for you to answer, would you fight for your country?
I like your answer.
I like your answer. There it is. Get him.
I like your answer because like the reason I asked is because like in World War I and World War II, it was like one of the biggest honors to go and fight. But today, with all the dumb shit going on, what am I truly defending?
It's not so much that, but like in like World War II, World War I, people knew what would happen in war because they would hear war stories, but it wasn't really filmed. It wasn't like nowadays. You've probably seen it, but I know I've seen it. I see clips of the war in Ukraine. I see clips of the war in like the war between Israel and Palestine. Like you see clips, you see everything. You see what kind of horrors can happen. You know what, like you know, like so everyone's a lot more conscious of the kind of
the atrocities
of war.
Yeah.
Whereas like back then, after World War II, they publicized a lot of what happened. But like back in those days when they were conscripting and stuff, people had a general idea, but they didn't really know the depth of it. So then it was like, oh, I'm going to go fight for my country. But they weren't really thinking as much about the
bloodshed.
Yeah, the bloodshed, the implications, like what Like them, they thought they were just gonna go fight a war and then be back and come back a hero. They were gonna be a hero. But meanwhile, like so many soldiers just went like almost unnamed, like that died.
Yeah.
Like yeah, they were remembered, but like no one was. There aren't a whole lot of individual soldiers that were celebrated. Like they just went off and died.
Yeah.
That's all that happened. So it's which was kind of sad, but very sad, but. Yeah, so it's like it's not. There's a lot less incentive. Like everyone is a lot more aware of what it actually is,
yeah.
As opposed to back then. It was just
Yeah.
They were also a lot of people were shamed into joining.
Yep.
Like I don't know if you've heard of that, but they used to give like young able-bodied men that weren't in the war, like they would see them back home, like in the actual country itself, and they would go up to them and give them feathers. Like a feather, and that was kind of like a symbol of like disrespect and like you're not fighting, whereas our sons or husbands or fathers whatever are fighting. Like it was like pretty much telling them get your ass conscripted.
Yeah.
Like yeah, so a lot of people volunteered and stuff, and when they thought they were gonna go do some good, but. And granted, the more people that signed up, the more likely. Like, if no one had signed up, and even with forced conscription, like if no one's heart had been in it, things probably would have went a lot differently. But
right. I do think that's the thing, though, is that, like with something like World War II, I think that's an example of there being like a clear global threat. Of some crazy guy in Germany trying to like eliminate one race and take over the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you got to think of what kind of damage he was able to do. Like, I mean, Canada, we joined the war, like, immediately. But, like, you look at the States, like, they didn't join immediately. And they were still gearing up for war. They were going to join regardless. But they didn't join until 1941. But then, like, by 1941, the German Reich and the Nazis were controlled, like, most of Europe. Like
that took over France.
Yeah, it's like it's not just one country anymore.
Yeah.
They had France, they had at least the top half of France, they had Belgium, Luxembourg obviously. They had the Netherlands, they had
Poland?
Denmark. They had
Austria.
Poland.
Was it Austria?
They had Austria, Hungary. They had I didn't know how. I can't remember how far they reached down into the Balkans.
Yeah.
Italy was on their side for a bit. I don't know when I can't remember exactly when they switched over. They had like a good portion of Ukraine, and like they were pushing onto the USSR as well. They were in the process of or had already taken over Denmark, Norway, and I believe even Sweden. Like they were growing.
Yeah.
They were pushing. So like that was a clear threat.
Yeah.
Whereas with Russia now and Ukraine, they're focused on just Ukraine.
Yeah.
What consequences will happen after if they do win? Like who will they go to next? Who knows?
Yeah.
But they're not declaring war on all of Europe.
Right.
At least not yet. So.
Right. And so many men have died in that war too. It's up to I think I saw it was up to 500,000 at this point. Which is wild.
Insane amounts. Way more than Canada ever lost in World War II.
Yeah. So, it's just interesting. Like, I think that war, like the motivations behind war today are much more suspect than they were back then. So
it's all money.
That's what it is. Yeah. So I don't know if I'd want to go fight for someone else's pockets.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to fight a religious war either. Though that's what most of history's wars were.
Right.
Religion.
I mean, that's kind of what's going on with it. Well, Israel Palestine you could say is religion, but that's also land and money
and ancestor and land.
It's obviously terrible. I'm sure I don't know if there's a good side and a bad side to it. I just pray for peace. Yeah
You're a pacifist?
Not exactly.
Our main goal in life, Carter, is to bring the shareholders more money.
Yeah. What is it called? Increase shareholder value?
It's what we're doing business for, so we can make sure our bosses get yachts.
Exactly.
That's it. That's all we live for.
You got to work for Boeing.
Yep.
Get those quality checks sped up.
Yep. No. Yep. Just actually disregard quality entirely.
Quality checks.
Yeah, who cares? Oh, yep. Plane looks good. No, that's how. No. Yeah. If you don't hear from me, come 2 weeks from now. That's why.
Okay. Can you fly a helicopter?
No.
Oh, okay. I was wondering if it was the same license. Not at all.
Totally different machines.
Yeah. Just thought I'd ask.
I could probably for like 2 seconds and then
yeah.
die.
That's fair. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. By the way, do you have any ass cream? My ass is itching a lot. No.
I have Nair. You want Nair?
Joking.
Have you seen that?
Don't include that.
You want that?
Just trying to embarrass you.
We can put that in there. We can put that in there. You just let me know. If not, we got to do that dap up again.
Yeah. Why was your hand so sweaty? Why was my hand so sweaty? Wipe your hand, dirty savage.
Yeah. I agree.
Jeez. Okay, this has to be crisp. Let's cut that out a bit.
Oh.
That's hard.
One more. Sorry.
No, too much slap.
That was good.
Pretty good.
That was good. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. This podcast audio recording has reached 2 hours, 20 minutes, but we took a long ass pause in the middle.
Yeah, we're going to cut a bunch out.
Yeah, it's going to get chopped up.
I'm not going to cut anything out. You are going to cut a bunch out.
I'll get your dad to do it.
Yeah, so how much are you paying me for this? Yeah, what's my time isn't free.
What's your dad's email so I can send him these files to edit?
No.
Thank you for watching. That is Sebastian Pro, VoV
Hit
Podcast.
like and subscribe for more videos.
Absolutely.
And if you want to check out the merch, there is none.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for watching. We'll see you next Sunday. Peace out.
Ciao.